Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Digital Leader Salon with me, Simon Walfish.
And me, Edward Rushton.
Edward, how do you like my new location behind me?
Yeah, I thought you were moving to Berlin.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like Berlin to me.
I'm in San Francisco, where it's the closest you can get to America at the moment, with a Zoom background. So if that's going to be really annoying and distracting, apologies, but we're having fun. It's quite hard to have fun at the moment, and this is one of the best ways, silly backgrounds on Zoom. Edward, what are we going to talk about today?
Today, we're carrying on with our discussion of Schumann's Dichterliebe. Last time we talked about the songs at the opening of the cycle, and today we've picked 3 songs from the very middle of the cycle. For those of you who have the music in front of you, we're talking about numbers 8, 9, and 10 today. And I think I picked this group of 3 because I think it's quite an interesting, it's an interesting section of the cycle, obviously. There's something about it that is sort of the dark heart of the cycle in a way. And of course, there's a very interesting connection between each of these songs. We talked last time about the tonal connections between the songs and how Schumann definitely wants one song to flow into the other because there's always a very interesting connection between the keys. And so we can talk about that in reference to these 3 songs. Simon, what do you think? What do you think about these songs? Tell us something about Und wüssten's die Blumen, die Kleinen, because it's one of the trickiest ones I find.
It is tricky in several ways. First of all, practically speaking, it's a really hard one to come in on because the piano just starts on this flourish and then the voice has to go, Und wüssten's die Blumen, die Kleinen.
So if you were performing this song out of the context of the cycle, it would be really hard to start. Yeah, I mean, I guess that you would... for people who are interested in the nitty-gritty, the nuts and bolts of how to perform Lieder as a pianist and as a singer, my experience is as a singer, you kind of have to notice when the singer is about to start and then catch the moment and then start. But you can sort of provoke the moment as well as a pianist from the piano. You can sort of give a sort of energy, sort of breathing, upbeat kind of feel. Yeah, but you have to be on the same wavelength. There's no point one of you waiting for the other. There's no point one of you thinking, okay, I'm going to start now, because the pianist might not be ready, or the other one, the pianist, thinking, okay, I'm going to start. It's my job to start, and the singer's not ready. You have to sort of notice when the other is about to breathe.
But that is what the third pedal is for on the piano, isn't it? So you press the pedal and the little boot shoots out of the piano and kicks the singer in the arse, and then you start.
That's right, actually, yes.
So going back to the song, if only the flowers, the little flowers, would know how deeply my heart is wounded, they would cry with me to heal my pain. And if only the nightingales knew how sad and ill I was, they would let happy little happy song come out to cheer me up. And if only they knew my pain, the golden stars, the golden little stars, die goldenen Sternelein, they would come out of the heights of the heavens, and they would speak Trost mir ein. They would speak comfort to me. All of them can never know. Only one knows my pain. And she herself has torn my heart in 2. Zerrissen mir das Herz. Zerrissen is almost like you tear something with your teeth. She's devoured and torn and completely destroyed my heart. And then the piano goes...
Well, it's... Zerrissen is... You can do it with paper, actually. It's when you tear a piece of paper in anger. into little pieces, throw it on the floor, jump about on it, spit on it, and all that. That's zerreißen. There's something I really have to say about the beginning of the song, which we've skipped over. I was saying that to start the song out of the context of the cycle would be very tricky, and you have to do the breathing, the energy on the same wavelength thing that I was talking about. But if you're performing it as a cycle, that you don't have to. You don't have to think about it, because it segues in immediately from the previous song. And we're not talking about the previous song because everyone knows it anyway. It's Ich rolle nicht. It's one of Schumann's absolute greatest hits. But the interesting thing about it is that not many people know, and I'm going to have to show you the music again, dear listeners and viewers. It's in 4/4 time. I don't know if you can see it. 4/4. That C means common time. That's 4/4. 4 crotchets in the bar, and the last bar of the song. Can you see how long the last bar of the song is?
It's one beat
long. So da blank blank blank, just one beat in the last bar, which normally only happens if the first bar was 3 beats long. This is technical stuff for those of you who know about music. But Schumann often does this kind of crazy thing. The last bar is literally just 1 beat long, and then there's the double bar, and then it carries all straight on. And there's an absolute brilliant key relationship. So you get the same notes start the next song. So, in my opinion, and this is something that my professor Owen Gage in Zurich taught me, and I absolutely was convinced by his way of doing it, was that you just carry on. You just carry on playing. And one way is to sort of put in an extra 1, 2, 3, Digget und Wüstens die Blumen, which I think is sort of what we did on our recording. But the other way of doing it would be literally to go Attacke, which can be in concert really effective. And any people who perform this cycle need to think very carefully about how they do the transitions between the songs, because sometimes you need to take more time, sometimes you have to take no time at all. And this is a case, I think, between these songs for taking literally no time at all. Yep. So performing it in the context of the cycle, it's not that tricky to start, but you have to both want to be very daring and segue in like that. Now you've told us a bit about the poem, and I think it's quite interesting because Heine goes slightly against what you'd expect. Normally there's a sort of way of building up a poem. You say there's one thing and then there's another thing, but the third thing is the punchline. And here he's gone one further. There's one thing, there's the little flowers, and then there's the second thing is the nightingales, and there's the third thing, which is the little stars. But the fourth thing, that's the punchline. So you have 3 strophes that are absolutely identical musically, talking about the flowers. If they would understand me, they would help me. The nightingales would help me if they understood me. The stars would come and comfort me. And then it changes only after the 3rd strophe. And Schumann does a very, very nice modulation there, completely with one little tiny sleight of hand. He completely changes the mood of the song. For die alle können's nicht wissen. They cannot know my pain. Only one person knows my pain, because she herself has torn my heart into little pieces.
Let's sing it.
Sie alle können's nicht wissen, nur einer kennt meinen Schmerz. Sie hat ja selbst zerrissen mir das Herz.
Something I love in that bit, the image of all these high stars, and then suddenly we have sie alle können's nicht wissen, and then la ya da. It's like he's going he's drowning in this. Whoa.
Yes, it's right. It's sort of the pretty images of the things coming down and sort of suddenly collapse in on him and overwhelm him, and with the picture of the beloved, the faithless beloved coming in, it goes really nasty. As I hope you probably just heard then, there's this one of my favourite bits actually is Sie hat ja selbst zerrissen, with a very long note written in the voice, but two very short notes, harsh notes in the piano.
I don't think I did it in that version. But that's right, it's written a whole
and then there's
crotchet.
some just horrible dissonances that come in. It's all been piano up till then. The whole song's been very soft, just one dynamic marking, piano the whole way. And then suddenly on the word zerrissen, there's this massive crescendo with just two notes to do it. And then it's sorry, I just lost my phone in the piano here. Yeah, there we are. Okay, it's back again. Yeah, so that's a real image of zerreißen, of tearing something apart. And that carries on in the piano's postlude, which...
Why didn't you play us a bit of the postlude and then go into the next song? Because this is another one that just rushes straight through.
Exactly. It just has to go straight in. I don't know if you heard there's it's a sort of, this is tearing. And then the next song starts with exactly the same notes. So he takes the same motif, the tearing apart motif, and uses it to start the next song. But piano.
Another thing I wanted to just mention, sorry to interrupt, is we brushed in the last episode, we brushed over the first song completely in Wunderschönen Monat Mai. But what's amazing about in Wunderschönen Monat Mai, it starts with a major seventh. And then again, I just...
Yeah.
There's all of these
it's
absolute...
Very dissonant. Yeah. There's Schumann's using those dissonances to express pain, the inner pain of the poet, very effectively. Yeah, you will have heard it, of course. And so on. And here, so... you just heard the way that it starts after the... Now this song is a dance. It's a wedding dance, but it's not his wedding. It's her wedding, his faithless beloved, who's gone off and married someone else. What our friend the dichter, the poet, is hearing from afar, because he's not invited to the wedding, is he's hearing in his mind the wedding music. He's hearing his beloved dancing with her husband at the wedding, but he's hearing it through the crazed, completely, like in his mind it's sort of filtered through this horrific. It's like he's looking at it through a shattered glass or something. In his mind, it's all his mind is completely shattered, and he's imagining her dancing at her wedding, and he can hear the music in his mind, but it's his music. It's in his key with the pain, da 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 da, this dissonance, and so we experience her wedding through his perspective, because I imagine that what's actually going on at her wedding is that they're dancing, and it sort of sounds like this. You can imagine the lederhosen and the slappings of the thighs. Like this.
Ach ja,
Hans,
du bist so ein schöner.
And so on. So for him, it's completely gone mad.
One other thought that I always had about this song, and maybe you can tell me I'm barking up the wrong Lindenbaum, but I always am reminded of that amazing scene in Don Giovanni where there's this big, crazy, orgiastic party going on, and there's 2 or 3 different dances happening at one time. And could it be here that we have 2 dances going on? You have in the right hand a dance in 2, yada da dee da da dee da 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 da, and in the left hand you have 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and it's just it's showing this kind of just these villagers having a great old knees up in the mud, dancing to a fiddler.
Well, yeah, that's right. But it's also his being torn up inside. We know his heart has been torn up into little pieces, and so you can hear that with the 2 against 3 that you're describing as well. And it's even more complex than that, actually, if you ask me, because you have. You have a 6/16 bar to start with. You have the upbeat, and then or is it a 7/16 bar sort of, and then. So if you take the highest notes of within the phrase, it's all accents on the wrong beats, on the off beats, and on completely irregular beats. So it's a very confusing picture that I think fits perfectly with. This our friend's state of mind, and of course there's also a very strong bass beat. You can hear the boom chicka boom chicka boom. Someone's really going, which is of course not just in real life the wedding music's the drummer going boom chicka boom chicka, but in our poet's version of his vision of his beloved's wedding is maybe his heart beating very, very strongly, intolerably. And Schumann even goes one step further. There's a place where his bass line, his heartbeats have massive bass octaves and accents on every single beat when he says, "Da tanzt wohl den Hochzeitsreigen die Herz allerliebste mein." That must be the beloved of my heart dancing her wedding dance, and you get this. This going around the circle of fifths, round and round and round, obsessively with very huge accents. But that's a place I wanted to ask you about, Simon, as a singer, because. In the bar before Die Herz allerliebste mein, he's written a crescendo in the piano from piano to forte. So the bit I just played is marked forte in the piano, but in the voice it's still piano. He hasn't written forte. He's written the phrase before, "Da tanzt wohl den Hochzeitsreigen." He's written a piano for the voice, but he doesn't correct that to forte when the piano goes loud. And so, what do you think, Simon? And we talked about this when we were performing it and recording it.
This is one of those. Sorry. A Zoom awkward silence. This is one of those moments, I think, for when you're singing, where you have to almost sing it through gritted teeth, dart, and he's written it down also. What?
Da tanzt wohl den Hochzeitreigen die Herz allerliebste mein.
You have to keep the piano, but obviously with intensity, and you have to obviously come through. So you can't be totally drowned out by the piano, but it has to be this absolute. You can't bear to say it, because by saying it, it's true. That must be the wedding of my heart's love, and then he repeats it. Die Herz allerliebste mein. So the second time can be a little bit more, but yeah, he hasn't given the singer anything except for piano. The only time we have forte is a bit later. Das ist ein Klingen und Dröhnen. Das ist ein Klingen und Dröhnen. Just a bit later on. It's almost like he's starting to shout into the wind, the howling wind against his face, and he's going, "Ah!" And no one can hear him.
Yeah.
Except for those little
he
angels
uses the
who are
forte to
crying.
describe the instruments playing at the wedding dance. In the first verse, it's Trompeten schmettern da rein, the trumpets blaring away, and in the second verse, it's Das ist ein Klingen und Dröhnen. There's noise and what's dröhnen, kind of
a drone,
like
isn't it?
almost like foghorns blaring. Yeah.
Und
So those
Schalmein is
and
the-
pauken and that, so shawms and drums are bashing away and wailing. Those are when he goes forte. But for the intimate moments, my beloved is dancing her wedding dance, and then at the end, which is a very telling line, very personal line, dazwischen schluchzen und stöhnen die lieblichen Engelein, which means, so in amongst the wedding guests and in the band, there are dear, lovely angels sobbing and groaning. And for these lines, even though the piano is going crazy in forte with all these accents and going around the circle of fifths and up and down and everywhere, he's saying, with as you say, through gritted teeth, he's feeling the pain of his beloved dancing, but then also he's feeling the sympathy, I believe, of the angels. He imagines there are angels there. They've been invited, but they're feeling for him. They're not on the side of his ex-girlfriend and her new rich husband, but they're on the poet's side. Of course they are. Yeah. So that's why he feels the closeness to the angels, and stays in piano, even though what's happening in his heart and in his ears is this crazy maelstrom of sound.
It's almost a little glimmer of hope, isn't it? That occasionally you get in this throughout this cycle. There's a little moment of it's probably going to be okay in the end, but we're not ready to take that. It's just an angel,
right,
maybe.
yeah.
Was that an angel in that wedding band, or was it just someone's shiny tankard of ale? You know, but would you play that beautiful outro of this song? Because I think that is the moment where you actually hear the angels with your the little staccato chromatic scale going down, and then it just finishes totally pianissimo, as if there's only one person left in the band with his little ukulele, ba-dong, and everyone's gone home.
That's very interesting interpretation, Simon. I've never thought of it like that. For me, this postlude is kind of the opposite of beautiful. I don't think anyone could describe this song as beautiful. I mean, there's something beautiful about the image of the angel, and if you transfer that onto the postlude, as you just did, then of course it makes it into a beautiful.
Or just a hint, a moment within the evil horribleness.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I totally see what you mean. But for me, this ending has always been, the kind of the high point of his pain and obsession. We'll see, in a minute we'll talk about the following song where things calm down a bit. But with this ending that goes round and round and round in circles, with the bass drum banging away and the trumpets, and then this it's as if he's driven himself into this kind of negative ecstasy, imagining his beloved's wedding, and then I always see him kind of whirling around, falling into a faint, like in the cartoons when you see this thing going around his head, little birdies.
Well, I think it could be both.
So what happens
Those little birds could be the little
and then at the end
Engellein.
you really see him falling down with the chromatic scale that you described. He sort of collapses and falls to the ground, and it's just all too much, Just the whole thing is just completely overwhelmed him. But of course, that was my image when I play this, and your image is with the wedding band with the angels wishing him all the best for his future life, which is also is a very beautiful image.
Maybe we can have a bit
do you
of
want me
both.
to try and play the Postlude? Dazwischen schluchzen und stöhnen die lieblichen Engelein. And then what happens is this. So yeah. okay, I exaggerate. It doesn't do it that often, but it's whirling around in his head again and again and again. I'll play the end properly now. But Simon, I think your idea and my idea are in no way contradictory. I think there's always a place for dimensionality at least with music. I mean, we talked about at the beginning, you hear his version of her wedding dance. So there are both things. And the bass drum is also his heartbeat. And the wedding song that the band is playing is also the motif of his pain. It's both things. So, of course, the music can express sobbing angels, whoa, 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 as well as expressing his falling into a faint.
Absolutely. Again, it's worth reiterating that it's not interesting at all to force upon the listener our interpretation. I think it's that we just need a true interpretation, and then it's up to the listener to find their own meaning and truth in it. So we can give all this out and also disagree or have slightly different images as we're performing together as a duo. And then with 30 people in the audience, there'll be 30 different ideas, or maybe 28 different ideas and 2 are asleep.
Absolutely, Simon. And the great thing is, of course, because you're singing with the words, and you are, in a way, the embodiment of the protagonist, in a way, maybe not only, but that's probably on the surface something that the audience perceives, because you're singing the words, and the words are written in the first person, so they will project onto you that you are the poet, the protagonist, in the cycle. So you have that task to fulfill, and of course, I'm at the piano painting and supporting, but also contradicting. And of course, I have my ideas about what's happening. I mean, I can see the whole thing happening, as it were, in a film. But no one will notice if my pictures and your pictures are completely at odds.
Well, on the contrary, when you have in a film or in the cinema, you've got the main character, the main thing happening, and then you have something else just behind it or just around the corner that maybe the protagonist hasn't noticed, the way somebody else has just looked at them, which could change the whole meaning of the situation without even the protagonist realizing. And that's where this huge, big, juicy bed of sound and harmonies that comes from the piano part can actually leads the whole thing, really. Your the colors, the warmth, the everything. And I have the words and I can color them and I can have my own feelings and the rest of it. But actually the whole deeper emotion. I mean, it's like I've got the lines and you've got the film music, as it were. Could be another way to look at it.
Yes. But the difference is as well that in a film, the actor is literally portraying that character. But in a song, it's not necessarily the case. I mean, probably in a cycle like this or Die Schöne Müllerin, these are the works where the singer is closest to performing, as it were, as an actor, performing the character, filling the role, performing the role of the Dichter in this case. But there's so much unreal stuff in between, the fact that you're singing, the fact that it's poetic words that you're speaking and not realistic words, the fact that you've got a piano sitting next to you on the stage playing. Yeah, so there's it's not as simple as that.
Let's move on to get onto the last song. So we're not.
Again, let me just bang on about this. This is another song that carries on with a 5-1, a dominant tonic tonal relationship. So, of the previous song becomes the dominant in the next song. So, yeah. Tell us about what happens in this song.
He hears somewhere, is it in his imagination or could it be from somewhere, the song that once his beloved sang. Do I hear that song? So,
yeah.
And then I want, my breast wants to explode from wild pain, Schmerzendrang, the wild pain, the pressure of the pain is going to make my breast explode. Es treibt mich ein dunkles Sehnen, a dark force leads me out into the height of the woods, into the forest. And there, in tears, my übergroßes Weh, my pain, which is over big, it's overwhelmingly huge pain, will be finally expelled through my tears. And one thing that maybe this is my favorite song ever in the history of songs. I don't know. There's something amazing about singing such dramatic and violent words about so will mir die Brust zerspringen von wildem Schmerzendrang, singing it pianissimo, slowly, and also very, very chromatically. Can we just do it together now, so I can demonstrate from So will mir die Brust?
Yeah. I'll play it from the beginning.
So will mir die Brust zerspringen von wildem Schmerzendrang.
Yeah, and that is something just it's agonizing, you know? It's like you're looking at someone staring at you with glassy eyes saying, oh, they can't breathe, you know? It's like when I ran into the hospital months ago with my son, who was having a terrible shaking fever, and I suddenly couldn't talk. They were amazing. That was the beginning of all this disaster. Anyway, he was fine. But that feeling of that, you can't take breath in to talk. When you need to talk the most, you need to tell the doctors what's wrong with your son, and you can't even talk. You're so terrified. And that's what you feel here in this stillness in the music. It's the best writing ever.
Yeah.
What do you think?
And I'm sure later that your pain dissolved in tears as well. I mean, it's when you're in shock like that, you know, you can't do anything. But then, as our protagonist here, he's forced to go out. He's at home, you know. He's been going mad at home thinking about his darling's wedding, and he's forced to go out. Es treibt mich ein dunkles Sehnen, a dark force, a dark longing, drives him out to go to the forest to commune with nature. And there, as you said, his übergroß, what would you say? His
overwhelmingly huge,
extremely huge pain dissolves in tears.
Dissolves,
which is again, like you said in the previous song, where he feels the sympathy of the angels, and that's maybe a little flicker of hope, as you said. And here there's another flicker of hope, because, as I'm sure you know, once you're able to cry about something, then the knot has started to untie itself. So that happens here. Although that's not the end of the story, it's not a simple curve upwards now towards the end of the cycle, but there's a flicker of hope, absolutely, with the tears that he can cry when he's in the forest. And there's just one thing I want to say before we maybe have to stop for today. But we talked about the music, the real music that would have been played at her wedding, that is transformed and transmorphed. I can't think of the English anyway, but it's completely warped maybe. It's warped in his mind into something minor key and full of pain. And here's the same thing. There's a real song that once she sang, ein Lied, das einst die Liebste sang. So you can imagine back in the days where everything was good, in May, you know, she was singing this beautiful song, which probably sounded like this. And now it's kind of... it's turned into the minor. It's just with little notes that are not connected, individual notes. It's like if you know if you hear on the radio when they're playing our song, you know they're playing our song, but it's not nice anymore. It's like, oh, that was the song that we used to dance to. This is a Hollywood thing, you know. When they're playing, and suddenly you hear the music that was a sign of the good times, and now the times are not good. So it's that feeling. And that's the shock that he gets when he hears this song. Someone's played it at a concert, or I don't know, or he just imagines it, like you said, it's in his imagination. But it's changed. It's warped into something nasty.
If this were orchestrated, it would be a sort of a distant celeste somewhere, possibly off stage, wouldn't it? You know, you'd have maybe a harp and then a celeste in the elevator lift
off
shaft
stage,
somewhere.
absolutely,
You know.
yeah, or a little, I don't know, like some sort of
Panpipe.
singing saw, or I don't know, just a violin with the harmonics, little flageolet sound, something like that, but a long way away. And then it's the last thing we have to say, because this is what we're finishing off our discussion of today with this song. But the ending is extraordinary. There's this one of Schumann's great postludes where you hear the song again and again and again, and each time it gets less ethereal. So if your orchestra from the distant celeste becomes a kind of an oboe or a horn that's right here in the orchestra, right next to him. And then the third time, which is the lowest, the most intense, it's kind of, I don't know, the whole entire orchestra, the entire world inside his chest, hammering out the notes of this song, and turning it into something very, very nasty before the pain winds down again towards the end, where you can feel again this idea of his übergroßes Weh, the over-dimensional pain dissolving in tears. And you really hear this in the piano. So I should just play that, and then maybe we'll say goodbye.
Let's. Why don't I sing from Es treibt mich?
Yeah, genau. Okay, so I'll play it from the beginning of the bar. Okay, what key are we?
Es treibt mich ein dunkles Sehnen hinauf zur Waldeshöhe. Dort löst sich auf in Tränen mein übergroßes Weh.
So these overlapping versions of the song, of her song, just getting more and more intense before then it calms down. For me, this is one of I talked about the dark heart of the cycle, and this is one of the low points, absolutely. Even though, and this is something we've touched on in previous episodes of Digital Leader Salon, that Schumann does two things at once. So he's saying there's hope, there are the angels, there is the sobbing, the crying, the tears. But at the same time, our friend is desperate, on the floor in his little garret, or on the floor of the forest, sobbing his heart out. And it's very, very dark. So yeah, having just wound himself up into this feverish intensity of pain, self-pity maybe. Yes, it's both things at once.
Great. Well, let's wind it up there at this point, and next week we will conclude our exploration of Dichterliebe by, we're talking about songs 13, 14, 15. Is that right? Next week.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's the dreams, the dreams that come just before the final happy end, semi-happy end of the cycle.
So this Dichterliebe Schumann is available on Resonance Classics, which we recorded, Edward and I, in 2019, alongside other songs by Schumann, the Kernelieder, Opus 35, and 5 songs, Opus 40. And if you haven't heard it, please do listen to it and let us know if you liked it. And you can support us in several different ways. One way is, in fact, you could buy the CD. You can support the record label directly by buying it from Resonance Classics, or you can support the artist directly by buying it from our website. So whichever you like. And if you buy it from us, you get a signature and a tatty brown envelope sent to you at some point. And you can also donate to us on PayPal. Just go to paypal.me/Simon Valfish and then reference Digital Leader Salon in your payment. We really appreciate that because we are desperate at the moment as freelance musicians. With coronavirus, we are not doing concerts and finding it very difficult to make ends meet. So we would really appreciate it. We're here every week. We want to hear from you. Get in touch. #Digital Leader Salon. Share this video, subscribe, do all the cool stuff you can do on the internet these days. And we would love to hear from you, so please do get in touch. And thank you again, Edward, for a lovely chat about Schumann. So join us next week and see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.